absolute value equations. When we solve absolute value equations, we will end up having two solutions or no solution. The absolute value of x is equal to 14. X can be a positive 14 or a negative 14. So therefore, we'd have two solutions. Or we could think of the case where we have the absolute value of x equal to a negative 14. Since when we take the absolute value of any number is always positive, it cannot be equal to a negative number. We have 5 steps we're going to use to solve absolute value equations. The first step, we're going to isolate the absolute value sign. Step 2, check that the absolute value sign is equal to a positive number. Step 3, we're going to remove the absolute value bars. Step 4, we're going to write two equations with the word or. Step 5, we're going to solve, and we're going to have two solutions. So our first example, the absolute value of 2x plus 1 is equal to 13. So the first step, isolate the absolute value sign. In this instance, the absolute value sign is isolated, meaning there is nothing added or subtracted to it or multiplied or divided to it. So it's considered isolated. So step 1. We can move to step 2. Check that the absolute value sign is equal to a positive number. 13 is a positive number. We can move to step 3, which is remove the absolute value bars. So that's what we're going to do when we do step 4. We're going to write two equations and use the word or between them. So 2x plus 1 is equal to 13. Or whatever's inside this absolute value sign, 2x plus 1, can equal a negative 13. So that's step 4. And step 5 is solve. So our solution, x is equal to negative 7 or 6. Problem 2. The absolute value of 2x minus 4 minus 26 is equal to 6. So the first step is to isolate the absolute value sign. In this instance, the absolute value sign is not isolated. It has a negative 26 with it. So we need to get this all by itself, so we are going to add 26 to both sides. The absolute value of 2x minus 4 is equal to 32. Now the absolute value sign is isolated. There is nothing being added or subtracted, multiplied or divided on the outside of the absolute value bars. Step 3, we're going to remove the absolute value bars when we do step 4 and write two equations with an OR. 2x minus 4 is equal to 32, or what's inside this absolute value sign could equal negative 32. So 2x minus 4 could equal negative 32. Now we're on step 5, solve for two solutions. So x is equal to negative 14 or 18. Problem 3. 4 times the absolute value of 3x minus 2 is equal to 40. Step 1. Isolate the absolute value sign. So the absolute value of 3x minus 2 in this instance is being multiplied by 4. So we are going to do the inverse and divide each side by 4. This is not a parentheses. We are not going to distribute. We don't distribute with the absolute value sign. We're going to divide each side by 4. The absolute value of 3x minus 2 is equal to 10. Now the absolute value sign is isolated. We're going to check that it's equal to a positive number. It is. We're going to remove the absolute value bars and write two equations. So 3x minus 2 can equal 10, or, since it's inside the absolute value sign, it can equal a negative 10. And now step 5 is to solve. So x equals negative 8/3, or it equals 4. Number 4, 2 times the absolute value of 3x minus 6 plus 4 equals 40. Step 1, isolate the absolute value sign. Well, in this instance, the absolute value sign is being multiplied by 2 and has 4 added to it. So we're going to think of PEMDAS backwards, and we're going to first subtract 4 from each side. Then we're going to divide by 2. Step 2, we're going to check that the isolated absolute value sign is equal to a positive number. It is. We're going to remove the bars and write two equations, because 3x minus 6 can equal 18, or 3x minus 6 can equal negative 18. And now we're going to move to step 5 and solve. So x equals -4 or 8. Our final problem, number 5. The absolute value of 2x plus 7 plus 24 equals 3. We're going to isolate the absolute value sign. So we're going to minus 24 on both sides. Okay, now that we've isolated the absolute value sign, we're going to check that the absolute value is equal to a positive number. In this instance, the absolute value of 2x plus 7 is equal to a -21. So our work is done here. We have no solution. So keep in mind, when you're solving absolute value equations, you're going to end up with two solutions or no solution.